Is this car better than the Dacia Duster and also cheaper? It's a full hybrid, it's got a bigger battery, and it's even got more power. So let's find out in this video what the MG ZS Hybrid Plus offers and if it's better than the Dacia Duster. The MG ZS is going to have a starting price of 20,990 euros. If you pick up the full hybrid variant, which we have standing here, 2,000 euros more, so 22,990 euros. Compared to a Dacia Duster, which you can also pick up as a full hybrid system, this is going to be around 3,000 euros cheaper, which is already quite a significant price, considering you get a bigger engine, you get a bigger battery, and a couple other things which we'll look at here in a second. The test vehicle here, around 27,500 euros, all in German prices, due to the fact that we have the highest variant standing here, and also this diamond red color, which is going to cost you around 650 euros extra. There's going to be 7 different colors you can pick up. All extras are going to cost you 650, apart from the green one, which is the standard one. When it comes to the variants, you can pick up the standard one, the comfort, and also the luxury one. In the standard one, you for instance get halogen lights, we get LED lights, and a couple other things which we'll look at here in a second. In the front, like I already said, we have LED lights here. However, our blinkers are going to be halogen. We do have high beam assistance, so just it turns off and on, and also some air curtains down here. And in a fairly decent design. Obviously, they did recently do a facelift on this in 2024, and in my opinion, just looks a little bit sportier and also fairly nice. Sorry about that. MG logo up on the top, and then a couple of chrome plastic elements on the bottom with some big air intakes on the bottom. The engine in this thing is going to be a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder, which is going to produce 102 horsepower and also 128 Newton meters. Then you also have the electrical component, which is a 1.83 kilowatts an hour battery, which is quite big compared to competitors. It is supposed to also get you a range in the city of almost 10 kilometers, which is quite significant. Otherwise, you usually get around a couple of kilometers when you have a full hybrid system. We'll see how that works. Combined, it's going to produce 197 horsepower, the electrical component 135, and also 250 Newton meters. Combined 197 horsepower, WLTP around 5 liters with a fuel tank of 41 liters. Top speed 168 kilometers an hour, and also 0 to 100 in 8.7 seconds. A difference compared to the Dacia Duster, however, is going to be that the towing capacity on here is only 500 kilograms, and that is unbraked. Braked, there is no, well, claimed towing capacity which you can do on this car. Dacia Duster in the full hybrid variant is going to be 750 kilograms, which is just a little bit more. In the Dacia Duster, if you also pick up the non-full hybrid variant, around 1,200 kilograms, if I'm not mistaken. When it comes to the trunk, it is not going to be electrical, just like in the Dacia Duster. The only one that is from Dacia where you have an electrical tailgate is going to be the Bigster. In here we have 443 liters up to 1,457 liters, so quite big. We also have a 60-40 split, and also a little bit more storage space below here where you can just put some very small stuff in there, which obviously isn't bad. You have some cubby spaces on the side, and there's also going to be a light on the top left corner. And if you want to flip over the seats, you'll have to do it from the front. And let's also quickly look at design in the back. We got a little bit of a roof spoiler up here, fairly big window, which is also tinted, which you will get with the luxury variant, where you get privacy glasses on the rear and also on the back here. The MG logo, these very interesting looking lights in my opinion, because they look fairly slim when you look at this, but then the encasing is going to be fairly large. MG ZS Hybrid Plus down here, and also these 2 fake blends for your exhaust pipes, which are obviously not real, and also this kind of regenerative light here in the center, which I always like to call it, because it reminds me of a Formula 1 car with the regenerative lighting in the back. Dimensions of the car are going to be 4 meters and 43 long, 1 meter and 82 wide without the side mirrors extended, and 1 meter and 63 tall. When it comes to the wheelbase, also 2 meters and 61 centimeters. Let's look at the rims first off. The ones that we have on here are going to be the 18-inch rims due to the fact that we have the luxury variant. If you get the standard variant, you're looking at 16. The Comfort is going to get you 17-inch rims, all with a different design. And these are also going to be 2 15s, a 50 in the front as well as in the rear. We get automatically foldable side mirrors if we press the keyless entry button here on the side. You can see those are going to close. Keyless entry you get with the Comfort variant. In the standard one, you do not get that, as well as a rain sensor, which you only get with the Comfort one, not with the standard one. Privacy glass, you will get that with the luxury variant, like I already mentioned, and otherwise a fairly decent design here on the side. Nothing special, but still looking fairly decent in my opinion. And join me in the back, where you can see I actually got quite a good amount of room here. I'm 1.80 meters tall, 5'11". My leg room is fairly decent, or knee room, and the seat in front of me is also quite squishy, so I can put my knees in there if I'm a little bit taller. Foot room is also a lot. I can basically trample around here on the bottom, so there is quite a lot of space, but the seat is also to my liking. I could theoretically put it lower, that I wouldn't have as much footroom, or I can put it higher to have some more. Otherwise, quality here in the seats is fairly basic, but still feeling fairly decent. And otherwise, headroom is also a lot. I have around this much space, so again, quite a lot of space there. And my thighs are also quite nicely supported here on the lower part, on the bench, which is quite nice. Let's look at the quality here on the side. And there you gotta say, it is very, cheap plastic up here. First of all, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, they got some stitching in here, looking fairly nice, so probably some, cheaper leather in there. But no, this is just some fake stitching. It's all plastic. And then we just have this element here, which also looks like a little bit of wood, but it's obviously not wood. But you got softer material where you will put your elbow. Otherwise, everything here is going to be in, very cheap plastic. When it comes to the center, we also have 2 air vents in the center, which are not your own climate zone. These will be adjustable from the front, as well as a USB-A, and that's about it for the center there. You also do not get an armrest or anything like that, so fairly basic here in the back. And join me now on the inside, where you can see it looks fairly simplistic and kind of also used to MG. Steering wheel's typical MG. But let's start up the car, take a look at how everything looks. If you get the luxury, you will get electrical seat here for the driver, which is quite nice. And you will also be able to pick up with the luxury heated seats and also heated steering wheel, which in my opinion is a quite nice thing to have. Dacia Duster also offers that with the winter package, or also the, if you get the heated seats in the front. One thing I am kind of missing is no inductive charging space here. Dacia Duster with the new version does have that. You now also have a USB-C here and, for your Apple CarPlay Android Auto, which is not wireless in this car, so you will have to plug that in. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless in the Dacia Duster would, however, be wireless, like I already mentioned. Otherwise, fairly simplistic down here. We also get a nice gear selector for obviously our drive mode, for our reverse, neutral, and drive. We also have a drive button down here, which you can see changes it in the digital cockpit between normal, sport, eco, and otherwise 2 couples in here, which you can also move around. Quality in the front is a lot better than in the back, because you actually get softer material here all throughout, which is quite nice, with also some stitching in there, so not fake stitching like we had in the back, and also good storage space on the side where you can put some bigger bottles. Let's also look at the reversing camera here in the back, which is the 360-degree camera, which you get with the luxury variant. That is a fairly decent quality compared to the Dacia Duster. Definitely a big step up, and for the price segment, a really good quality camera here. So you can see here also side view and also trajectory lines, which do move along with your input, which is quite nice. We don't have a heads-up display or anything like that, but let's start driving this car now. Turning circle is actually not something that was provided in the fact sheets of this car, but it is fairly low. I'd probably say somewhere around 11.2, somewhere right around there. That was your seat. But don't judge me on that correctly, because I have no idea, because I didn't actually say something, but it feels fairly maneuverable around the city with the 360-degree camera. Quite nice. And if you also get the comfort, you get parking sensors in the front and in the rear, if I'm not mistaken. I think even in the standard. One thing that's also quite nice is standard-wise, you actually get all the safety features, and apart from the 360-degree camera, even in the standard one. So you can see here, we just have our button on the side here for adaptive cruise control, which you can then select if you want it close or far away, which is quite nice. And that is something that is standard-wise equipped on this, which is quite nice, even on the, standard one. Otherwise, we also get blind spot assistance, and we actually have a fairly decent surrounding view. The window out the back is quite big, but the D-pillar is going to be a little bit on the bigger side, so there is going to be a blind spot there, but that's not much of a problem. One thing you will also notice here, you can see the 2 on the regenerative braking in the digital cockpit. I've selected a quick bind here on the right side, so I can change it between completely high, which is 3, and also 1 and 2. 1, in my opinion, is just what I personally like, because I'm not personally the biggest fan of regenerative braking when it's so intense. I just like to have it when you're going down a hill, brake a little bit, so it regenerates the battery. In my opinion, 1 is just the best option. There you also heard for a second the EU warning assistant. If we go down to the car option here, and then we go into MG Pilot, we can have it's all in German now, but we can turn it off right there. So around 3 buttons, and then you have it selected to turn it off. Dacia Duster and Renault kind of make it a little bit better, because you have the My Safety cursor on the side, where you just press that twice and everything is adjusted to your liking. And that's a wonderful tractor right there. The infotainment display here is actually quite decent. It's simple to use. Navigation is also integrated in here. What I personally just like a little bit more from the Dacia Duster is that the climatization control is also integrated in here, with also buttons which just feel a little bit nicer. In here you have to go in here and then turn it on, which is just not as nice as in the Dacia Duster in my opinion. I think the Dacia Duster just looks a little bit cleaner. That's a fox right there. It just looks a little bit cleaner and in my opinion just a little bit nicer. But otherwise still very good to drive. So when it comes to the driving characteristics of this car, it's actually quite nice. The suspension is fairly well managed here. It's a little bit more on the softer side. You will notice there is definitely body lean in here, but if you go a little bit faster into these corners, it's actually quite decent. You will notice, okay, it's not supposed to be a sporty car, but the thing that you get in here is obviously 197 horsepower compared to the 140 that you get with the Dacia Duster, so quite a big increase, which you will notice when driving. And what you will also notice when driving is the 3-gear gearbox, basically, the hybrid gearbox. If you get the normal MG without the hybrid, you get a CVT, and in here you get those 3 gears. That's why also, in my opinion, the top speed is only up to 168, because they are fairly long gears as well. So you will notice when driving, if I'm accelerating, for instance, and the engine kicks in, we're still completely in EV currently. Let me go into Sport by pressing the button down here, and then it's going to use a little bit more of the combustion engine as well. I mean, that's still I'm only like 40% on the throttle right there, but that actually feels fairly decent, and you can actually go through here quite quickly. But there's the engine, and when it is turned on, the engine, it will be a lot louder. If you're just driving an EV, it's really well isolated in my opinion as well, and just sounds good. Dacia Duster, when it's quite windy, is also, I don't know if I'd say this is better isolated than the Dacia Duster. I can't really confirm that. I'd have to sit in both of them at the same time to really say if it is. But the isolation here is definitely good. And the suspension over these a little bit more of a bumps here, also quite comfortable. You will notice them obviously, but that's kind of what you're expecting for this price point. There you definitely felt that one, for instance. And with the size of 4 meters and 41 or 43, it's actually quite decent size. So let's accelerate here. Full pedal to the metal, and there's that engine, definitely louder now. And there you heard that. It is a it just has 3 gears, and therefore it will kind of sound like CVT because they are so long. When I was first driving it, I was like, okay, is that a CVT or is it actually a gearbox? Because here it goes up to high RPMs. Also a little bit weird because it kind of limits my power. Then if I'm going fast, it goes down. Even the RPMs you saw there went down, but it didn't feel like it was shifting. If it did, then it was a really long pause between the shifts. Felt a little bit weird. I'll have to test that out here again. Let me go a little bit faster here. No, I didn't kill him. He was I still saw him in the side mirror there. Didn't hit him. So let me accelerate again. Is it lange Shiftpause? Okay, no, it's just extremely long pauses on the shifts. It feels like an AGS, an automatic manual transmission. That's what it feels like, but it is just very long gears and shifting between the gears there. But I'm actually surprised by the cornering capabilities of this car. And there you go. It just gets loud then when that 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine comes and kicks in. But otherwise, when you're driving this in a city, like I already mentioned, you can go up to 10 kilometers full EV apparently. The car really does feel very nice to drive and just comfortable as well. Let's also look at the consumption, because that's the one thing that they also claimed, around 5 liters WLTP. If we press on this button here, we can go to the left and one more time to the left, and we can see accumulated distance here around 1,700 kilometers. With an average speed of 55 kilometers an hour. A couple of those were on the Autobahn. 6.5 liters on average. I would say that the Dacia Duster is going to be more efficient. When we were doing our consumption test with the full hybrid on the Autobahn, lowest speed I think we got around 3.7 liters. That's 80 kilometers hour behind the truck. And in general, we usually get with that engine setup around a 5 liter when you're driving a little bit country roads and in the city. When you're on the Autobahn, 5.5, somewhere around there. So I would say the Dacia Duster is going to be the more efficient one out of these two. But you do obviously also get a higher engine here, a little bit more of a punchy one, a little bit more horsepower. So take that in consideration when you're looking at the consumption. If you're probably driving this in eco and regenerative braking set to 3, it will maybe be down to around 5, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. So what is my final verdict on the MG ZS Plus? Would I pick this one up or would I get a Dacia Duster in the full hybrid variant? Also, you have a warranty on here of 10 years or 150,000 kilometers with the battery and also the engine, so that's already quite a lot. So what would I consider? The starting price of this is obviously quite a lot less, and you basically get everything in here. You don't have to pick up anything else apart from if you want a different color compared to the emerald green that you get standard-wise, and therefore a very good option because you already get a lot of standard features. Quality in your front is surprisingly good, better than the Dacia Duster in my opinion. In the back, it's quite similar. This Dacia Duster does have something like an inductive charging space, and I did like that it just felt a little bit cleaner with the buttons, for instance, and the touchscreen in the Dacia Duster, because climate zone and stuff like that was also adjustable via buttons. And in my opinion, I just like the design of the Dacia Duster a little bit more, and it's also a little bit of a more fuel efficient car, but it's also going to cost you more, so it really depends on if you want more fuel efficient or you just want a car that's going to be the cheapest as possible. And therefore I think this is a very good option, a lot of standard features, and it's still a decent design and good driving characteristics of this car. What do you think? Would you pick this one up or would you get a Dacia Duster? Let me know in the comments and make sure to like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.